The station's being renovated, so everyone has to wait on the platform in the cold. Typical. It's a fizzy sweet dispenser. I need a coin. Some facts on local history. According to this, the castle was built in the 11th century. The text refers to many renovations and extensions, as well as changes in ownership. Hang on a minute. This could be interesting. The mountain under the castle has an old tunnel system. Ore was mined there from the 18th century onwards. The lords of the castle used the passages of the mines as a hiding place or escape route during times of siege. However, the tunnels were closed down just before the war. That means there was once a connection between the mine and the castle. Maybe it still exists. If it doesn't stop raining, this barrel is going to overflow. My hands aren't dirty. An axe. It's a memorial cross. Seen better days. There are some candles burning on the pedestal in front of it. There are 5 candles here. I'm sure nobody will mind if I take a candle with me. This rusty old chain is keeping the door closed. It won't open as long as it's chained up. Impossible. I can't get it off by hand. The sign's covered with a thick layer of moss. I'll try and scratch the moss away. There it is. 2 tools crossed. A hammer and a pickaxe. This is either a mine or the Center for Dyslexic Soviets. An old carriage sitting on a siding. One of the train's rear lanterns. It's screwed securely to the carriage. This rope prevents the handcar from rolling onto the main track. It's tied tight. I should be able to burn through the rope. Then the handcar will roll past the platform. That should keep the guard occupied for a moment or two. Then I'll have some peace and quiet to find the entrance to the mine. Let's go.
What the? Stop! Halt!
As long as no one complains, do what you like. It's good to get rid of some pent-up aggression every now and again. Impossible. I can't get it off by hand. One powerful blow to this rusty chain should be enough.
I'll put the candle in the lantern.
According to the sign next to the gate, this is the entrance to a mine, and if I understand the text on the info board, these tunnels may have connected up to the castle at one point. It's got to be worth a shot. Christ, it's a bloody maze down here. I've got no choice. It's my only way into the castle. Besides, in my experience, you find the most useful things in the queerest places. Poor guy. Let's hope I don't end up like him. This place is a maze. There's an old dented pot lying here. Ah, the stairs. I hope these stairs lead up to the castle. Or some nice young German girl's bedroom. I think I've ended up in the castle. I never thought this would actually work. Lucky there's no one here. This is some kind of workshop. I suppose it'd be too much to ask to climb out of the mines and run straight into the map. Well, exploring never gets boring. That is what they say, isn't it? A dusty old curtain. A filthy mirror. An authentic German nutcracker. I always wanted one of these old-style nutcrackers. A fire's burning. Very cozy. There's a hook here. A threaded hook that's been screwed into the wall. It won't pull out.
It's a traditional nutcracker. The lever on the little man's back opens his mouth. Insert nut and close mouth.
Of course. I can just use the nutcracker to unscrew the hook. Why didn't I think of that before? I'll jam the hook into his mouth and then unscrew it like a pair of pliers. This fire would be comforting, if I wasn't deep behind enemy lines on a life or death mission. It's a hand drill.
How are you coming along with the inventory?
Nearly finished, Herr Feldwebel. I still need to catalog the objects from Berlin.
Okay, but it is essential that we finish the inventory today. The remaining exhibits will be arriving from Berlin tomorrow.
Jawohl, Herr Feldwebel.
Did he say inventory? Maybe it says where the Piri Reis map is stored. If only I could get a look over his shoulder. Tin soldiers. They look pretty old. I'll take some with me as backup, in case I get caught. A candlestick without a candle. So, just a stick then. A boar pelt. Well, it's not Argali, but it'll do. And I always thought I was the one carrying too much weight. I joke, but seriously, I ought to get down the gym. I can't lug an entire set of armor around with me for 3 reasons. First, it's dead heavy. Second, it'll make me look silly. And third, this is supposed to be a stealth mission. I'll just take the gauntlets, because they're cool. A small wooden table. Moving it would make way too much noise. Nice view. A telescope mounted on the railing. I see trees. The telescope's pointing toward the forest, and I can't turn it. It seems to have rusted. The telescope's attached with a metal clamp. Maybe I can loosen it with the drill. A tower. It's a tower. Nazis. I hate these guys.
I hope you like your new home, guys.
Sorry guys, but sacrifice is just an intrinsic part of war. That was quick. They've melted down like butter.
I'll pour some of the molten tin into the hollow in the candlestick. Don't ask me how I did it, but I've bored out the solidified tin. It's now a lovely round shape. Almost like a coin, you might say.
I think I know how to get to the station, and I've seen all there is to see in the mine. I'll take the quick route. I'll pour some water into the pot. What do you know? It actually worked. I could make a mint. Get it? Because I'm making money to use in a sweet. You know what? Never mind. 4 fizzy sweets fell out the bottom.
Sweets are dissolving in the water. Now that I've dissolved the fizzy sweets, I've got yellowish, lemonish water. Great. I've soaked the pelt with lemon water. There, spick and span.
I think I know the route pretty well now. Nothing interesting left in the mine. I'll head straight up to the castle. I'll screw the hook into the crack. Okay, I'll hang the mirror up here. Praise be the laws of optics. I can make out every word. If the soldier would just move his hand a little to the side, then... Perfect. There it is. Exhibit 104C. The Piri Reis map, stored in the crypt in the North Tower. The problem with answers is they always give rise to new questions. Where the devil is the North Tower? According to the documents on the desk, the Piri Reis map is in the North Tower. I better not get any closer. I don't want to push my luck. I'll take it down again. I'll unscrew the hook. That's better. Now I can make out the individual buildings. Looks like the local pub. Freshly tapped beer and a hot schnitzel. Quite literally, the only things in the entire world that I want right now. Some kind of marketplace. A village church. Wait a moment. Churches always point west, don't they? With the altar in the east. The main entrance is facing away from me. So... Looking at the church, the two small towers to my left and right must be on the east-west axis. So the north tower must be on the other side of the castle, but how am I supposed to get all the way over there? A chimney. Believe it or not, I can't reach it from here. I think I can safely put the fire out now. I'll just throw the skin over. Great, the fire's out, though it now smells like a wild pig's marital sty in here. I can't see right up to the top from here, but these rungs in the side of the chimney must lead up to the roof. The ladder rungs are still too hot to hold. The gloves should protect me from the heat, climbing up the chimney to steal people's treasured possessions. I'm like the anti-Santa, only trimmer. Luckily, I'm not afraid of heights. Or as we've established, anything at all. Apart from our Argalis. And Kim, when she's in a huff. That must be the North Tower, where the Tula Society is storing its research. According to the inventory, that includes the Piri Reis map. shadows. Okay, I've reached the North Tower, but I don't see any ancient research objects or artifacts. The inventory said the items are kept in the crypt. Thinking about it, this doesn't really look like a crypt to me. It must be one floor lower. I'll have to find a way down. A round stone slab with some kind of occult symbol. This slab's separate from the rest of the floor. I can see the seam running along the edges. That said, I can't lift it with my bare hands. Then I've got to get down there. The North Tower Crypt. This is where all the Tula Society's research objects are supposed to be held. I've got to get down there. This crank lowers the old chandelier. They must have used it for lighting candles back in the day. It's locked. There's nowhere to screw it. Let's attack this thing. There, I've drilled a small hole. I've screwed the hook into the drill hole. It's lodged pretty tight. Let's see if the crank handle still works. Benton, you old dog, you've done it again. The chandelier's attached to the hook, which is screwed into the slab in the floor. When I turn the crank, the whole thing comes away. Shame there's nobody here to congratulate me. Ah, there's a cable here. Maybe I can climb down on it. Hopefully it'll take my weight. Looks like I'm in the right place, finally. Not that I'm complaining. Must be more of the Tula Society's artifacts and research objects. It could take days to search all these boxes for the Piri Reis map. Must be more of the Tula Society's artifacts and research objects. There's a sort of dossier on this podium. I'll just skim it quickly. It outlines the Tula Society's central objectives. According to this, the Society was founded in the early 1920s with the aim of restoring the knowledge of lost civilizations for its own use. The Tula Society's influence extends into the highest echelons of the German Reich. This gives them complete carte blanche on their activities. They can do whatever the hell they like. Seems they launched a project codenamed Vril under the direction of our old friend, Countess von Hagenhild. The focus of this project is the search for Shambhala. The Tula Society believes that a vast store of ancient knowledge is being hoarded there. The source of morphogenetic fields. Morphogenetic fields? Never heard of them. But then it does ring true with what Professor Hayes was talking about, a store of ancient knowledge. If I remember the professor's description correctly, the hunters and herders of Shambhala suddenly developed into a flourishing and highly advanced society. Hayes reckons some sort of mysterious energy was responsible for the tribe's development. Is that what they mean by morphogenetic fields? The documents are under lock and key behind a thick sheet of glass. These documents contain the research results of a scientist by the name of Aldrich von Hagenhild. Must be some relative of the Countess. Von Hagenhild spent his time searching for the World Soul. Christ, can't these people just use sensible names? The basis for von Hagenhild's research was the concept that for an organism to develop as it should, there must be some immaterial power steering it in the right direction. Basically, an invisible blueprint determining form and growth. So, why does a rabbit develop the way it does? And why does a pine tree become a pine tree? Who's the architect? What tells them to grow bark? Or fancy lady rabbits? Looks like these questions led von Hagenhild to believe there was some invisible, imperceptible field that controls the development of an organism. He called it morphogenetics. Von Hagenhild explains the holistic aspect of self-organizing systems with his theory of morphogenetic fields. Basically, the field stores forms or behavioral patterns that every member of a species draws from and adds to. This was his Western take on something the East had known for some time. In Far Eastern philosophy, people refer to his morphogenetic fields as the divine essence of nature, or as the soul. He thought he'd identified the soul. He didn't think the soul was a spiritual thing. He thought it was a fundamental principle of nature that had been warped and confused by religions the world over. He even thought he had proof. He refers to certain experiments he carried out. Ugh. This is a lot of information to take in. Von Hagenhild really believed that in these morphogenetic fields, he'd identified the soul, the central power behind all living things. These documents refer to several experiments which are supposed to prove the existence of morphogenetic fields. Von Hagenhild wanted to prove that every species obtains its entire being, its form, its instincts, from these fields, like some kind of collective memory. These inherited memories control not just the form, but also the behavior, the capabilities, and the knowledge of the relevant species. He called it a group soul. Experiment number 1. The rat experiment. The experiment investigated the capability of rats to find their way through a maze. At the beginning of the experiment, the rats needed 165 attempts before they could get through the maze without a mistake. But a few rat generations later, the number of attempts had dropped to 20. Conclusion. The first batch of rats learned how to navigate the maze, and this instinct was somehow added to the rat's group soul. When later rats navigated the maze, they somehow had access to this ancestral memory, even if the rats weren't directly related. Experiment number 2. The ape experiment. 2 ape colonies of the same species were isolated and observed on 2 small islands in the Indian Ocean. Von Hagenhild's team taught the apes on one island a few new behavioral patterns. The other colony was left undisturbed and uninfluenced, so while the apes on the first island are learning how to open tins and the like, the others are eating bananas. Several months later, the apes on the undisturbed island began displaying these new skills, even though they'd never come into contact with the other colony. Von Hagenhild's conclusion: all members of a species are connected by morphogenetic fields. They share a subconscious collective memory. He thought this theory could explain a lot. Animals' sense for impending danger, telepathy, sixth sense in humans. Von Hagenhild also concludes that members of a group can learn something new at a far quicker pace when the vast majority of members of that same group have already acquired the knowledge. These fields are basically stores of information that are effective across space, and in rare cases, even time. Von Hagenhild presumes this would go some way towards explaining premonitions. Human beings sporadically accessing morphogenetic fields from varying points in the future. It all sounds very far-fetched, but then it does explain a lot. Supposing morphogenetic fields really exist, they'd be the answer to problems science has been trying to solve for centuries. And if all these fields add up, if there's some kind of central repository of all this information, Christ, It'd basically be the scientific definition of God. I'm beginning to understand why the Tula Society's quite so interested. And if there's even the slightest chance it's all true, why they need to be stopped. Is this the Piri Reis map? It's hand-drawn, ancient. There are some notes next to it. Finally, von Hagenhild became convinced that there must be a type of definitive field from which all other fields are derived. All manifestations have an origin. He tried to back this up with historical evidence. A world soul, for instance, had been proposed by Plato over 2,000 years ago. But what really convinced him was the discovery of an old, mysterious map of the world, drawn by the Ottoman general Piri Reis. I knew it! It's the map! Let's see. Further on in the text, von Hagenhild discovered that the general had drawn up the map in the 16th century, using sources which were thousands of years old. But how could they have known at that time what the world looked like? He posed the theory that a civilization had existed then, which possessed extraordinary knowledge and skill. He discovered a marking on the map, which was written in an unfamiliar language. Research in Far Eastern libraries revealed it was a long-forgotten Tibetan script. Once translated, it claimed the marking indicated the source of all knowledge, the center of the morphogenetic fields. It was a hidden valley in the Himalayas, Shambhala. Shortly before he died in 1934, von Hagenhild passed the responsibility of continuing the research onto his daughter. Professor Hayes was right. About everything. The Tula Society arrived at the exact same conclusion as he did. They were just one step ahead. Lucky I'm one step more. Richard used the first key to pass through the gate in that secret room in the monastery. I just need to find the second. The Nazis can't enter Shambhala without it, and as it happens, I have the eye, and I have the map. I just need to use them to find the location of the second key. My last hope of finding Richard is based on an ancient legend. Great. It's time to cross everything I've got. And I mean everything. Fingers crossed. I've come all this way, but I'm still a little surprised it actually worked. The Piri Reis map really is the map of the Guardians of Shambhala. Or at least it was drawn to their specifications. So Professor Hayes was also right in thinking the priests of Shambhala took the second key artifact to India and hid it in a temple there. And now I know exactly where to look. On the Kathiawar Peninsula, just north of Bombay. Thinking about it, I actually know the commander of the British regiment in Rajkot. If the old drunkard hasn't been transferred for disciplinary reasons again, I'm sure he'll lend me a hand. Or at least a decent bottle. Then, I'll just have to find the temple and get hold of the key artifact. What could be simpler?
Looks like the road ends here. This village is supposed to be the last settlement. Other than that, there's nothing but thick jungle in every direction. The commander of the local troops led me this far, but now I need to quiz a local about the temple. I have no idea where it is. Hello? Hello?
Jesus, where is everyone?
Looks like this place was abandoned pretty recently. Hello? Is anybody there?
The Nazis can't have been here already. Can they? Damn it. I'll have to find the temple on my own. There are some chopped logs lying in the fireplace. Not much going on. There are some reeds lying here. Looks like the villagers use them to thatch their huts. It's a tree. It's a big tree. There are leaves on it? I don't know. A bamboo pole. Why is it every time I see one of these things, I feel like something ridiculous is about to happen? I'll take that cloth with me too. Feathers, blood. It's clear what happened here. Some huge winged monster had a nosebleed. Or a chicken got eaten. One of the two. It's dried up in the heat. A man can never have enough feathers. What is that? It's a small goat. It appears to be hiding underneath the hut. Well, no, it's definitely hiding underneath the hut. I can see it from here. All this military training, and now I realize I never learned how to coax a goat out of hiding.
Bah! Bah!
Damn, it's gone further underneath the hut. There's a broken jug lying here. This basket's seen better days. A few shards of pottery.
Oh no, I stand corrected. There are some stones in here. Fantastic. The basket's already broken, so I might as well finish cutting it up. I've dismembered the entire thing. All that's left are these thin sticks of wood and the hemp stitching.
I loved climbing trees when I was a boy. The taller, the better. Nowadays, I tend to only do it when I have to. Like when I'm being chased. Or when I'm bored. I'll just take a short wander into the jungle. Maybe the villagers are out foraging, or whatever it is villagers do.
Hey, you there! Where do you think you are going?
Christ! You frightened the life out of me! What the hell are you doing hiding in there?
Get away from the edge of the jungle. Come here!
What's wrong?
Don't ask, just do what I say.
Have I done something wrong? Sorry, I didn't mean to sneak around. I just wasn't sure where everyone had got to.
There's a man-eater about.
A what?
Doesn't anything strike you as strange around here?
Well, yes.
He came into the village last night while we were sleeping.
Who?
The man-eater. Listen to me. The beast is still out there. I can feel it in my bones.
And you're the only survivor?
No, during these months, only women, children, and old people live in the village. The young men work on the tea plantations. When he came, there was no one here to protect us. Those who could walk packed their things and left this morning.
What sort of animal are we talking about here? I'm, something of an expert.
A tiger, what else?
A tiger?
It was no normal tiger, it was a man-eater. Tigers normally avoid settlements. They hunt in the jungle. But now and again, a few of the particularly hungry ones stray into the villages. I remember the old stories from my childhood. When a man-eater has picked out a village, he stalks it for days until he can strike again.
When you put it like that, it does sound kind of scary. But I have a very important task, and I'm looking for someone who can help me.
What brings you here, stranger?
I'm looking for an old monastery. Or a temple. Do you know anywhere around here that fits the description?
As a matter of fact, there is an old temple nearby.
Great. How do I get there? Could you show me?
You may have no instinct for survival, stranger, but I wish to retain what is left of my life. I cannot leave the village until the man-eater is dealt with.
Okay. Tell you what. I'll have a look around and think of something. If I deal with the tiger, will you lead me to the temple?
Take my word for it, stranger.
Great. It's a deal.
Be careful out there.
There's thick jungle in every direction, save for a small trail leading southwest. I'll follow the path leading out of the village so I don't get lost. Let's see where it leads to. What is that sound? Christ, there really is a tiger out there. I never knew they sounded like that. Thinking about it, I'm not a vet, but this guy might be injured. No doubt he'd still eat me given half a chance. I should stay out of his way. A clump of wild mushrooms. I don't know anything about mushrooms, but that's no reason not to pick them. If they taste foul, I can just throw them away. Salad. All that's missing is a thick, juicy, medium rare ribeye and some chips. Hold the salad. Ugh. Leeches, dysentery, mud. Not very enticing. It sounds like it's in pain. Cats. Bloody things have been following me around ever since Hong Kong. They just keep getting bigger. But seriously, what am I going to do once I've got his attention? Other than feed him my innards. I've seen a worryingly large number of plane wrecks in the last week. At least this one wasn't my fault. As far as I know, the tiger's still back there. I probably shouldn't do anything to attract his attention. That includes climbing trees. Only one villager stayed behind after the attack, and he's hiding in here. He can show me the way to the temple, where according to legend, the second portal key of Shambhala is stored. But, perfectly understandably, he's afraid of the man-eating tiger that's on the loose. I need to take the cat out of the equation.
Hello?
Yes? Any luck in hunting the tiger?
I found these stones in the village square. I don't suppose they're, valuable by any chance?
No. These are flint stones. Keep them by all means.
Oh, well, thanks anyway. I found these mushrooms in the jungle. Are they edible?
I would only eat them if you have sleeping problems. These mushrooms contain a natural sedative. We use them to treat minor injuries. But I have heard of a Brahmin who performs operations on injured animals and sedates them with the poison from these mushrooms during the operations.
Interesting. So you just chuck them down the creature's throat?
No, the sedative must get into the bloodstream. The mushrooms are cooked and the juice that escapes is then injected. It requires a bit of experience to get the dosage right. Too much of the stuff could knock out a huge water buffalo, never mind a small pet.
No problem. Caution is my middle name. Yes, I saw the tiger. You're right. He's still lurking about.
Told you so.
I think I know why it came into the village last night as well. He looks injured. He's out in the swamp making sad noises. Would that explain why he's acting so aggressively?
Quite possibly. But regardless, I am staying in my hut. And don't go getting any wild ideas yourself.
But I promised to help.
As you please. Is there anything else?
I'll see what I can do.
Good luck.
They should go up nicely. The reeds caught. The logs shouldn't be far behind. If I've understood the old man correctly, these need to be boiled, not char-grilled. In you go. If the old guy is telling the truth, I can boil these mushrooms into some kind of natural sedative. That was quick. There's a dark sap oozing out. Let's get this off the fire without burning my hands. I can tie one of the pottery shards to one of the sticks. Great. I'll use a few fibers from the hemp cord to make fletching for the dart. I'll dip the tip in the homemade tranquilizer. Voila! A perfect tranquilizer. He looks hungry. Goats eat green things, don't they? Okay, little guy. Fancy an adventure? I'll tie a piece of the cord around the goat's neck, so it doesn't run off before I'm done with it. I've tied a leash round its neck. I'll tie him up here. I hope this works. Meh. Don't worry, you're not bait. You're just a distraction. Okay, preparations are in place. I'll lure the tiger into the village, then hide behind the tree in the square. While the tiger's busy with the goat, I should have just enough time to hit him with the dart. Let's hope the sedative works. For my sake, as well as the goat's. Do or die. Only one shot at this. Concentrate.
Have you shot it?
No, I've just sedated it.
Sedated? And what happens when it wakes up?
Look, he's injured. There's a nail stuck in his front paw.
Ah, you are correct. He has obviously fallen into a trap.
You set up traps to piss these guys off.
No. Many farmers in this area protect their fields and plantations from all sorts of animals with spiked traps such as these. If a tiger gets injured by such a trap, it cannot hunt in its usual way.
And it gets angry.
It begins to look for easier prey.
Chickens, goats, people.
Exactly.
Okay, let's pull the nail out. Then we can take him out into the jungle and hopefully he'll wake up and wander back to his natural habitat.
This could work. I extend my thanks and the thanks of the entire village to you, stranger.
You know, thanks are great and all, but don't forget our deal. Let me take a look at this guy's foot. You find something we can use to move him.
Okay. I'll fetch a cart, and we can take it to the other side of the valley.
Okay, we're done.
Then I will lead you to the old temple, as promised. Follow me. This is it.
Here? But I don't see a temple.
Behind me in the lagoon.
What do you mean, in the lagoon?
According to records, there was a narrow valley here in which a temple stood until a few hundred years ago. One day, after a heavy storm, the valley was flooded along with the temple. Since this day, everything that remains of the temple is under the surface of the water. Only this statue standing on the roof of the temple bears witness to what lies beneath.
Do you think anything's still intact down there?
I cannot swim, how would I know?
Okay, well, thanks for your help.
It was no problem, stranger. I had better make my way to the next village to tell the women that the tiger is no longer a danger. Would you care to accompany me?
Women, you say? No, I really ought to get back to saving the world. Thank you, though.
As you wish. Good luck.
I usually need it.
There's an old column here, reclaimed by the jungle. These plants are firmly attached. I can't just pull them away. Two pieces of flint, used to spark fires. I'll fill it with water. My guide said this lagoon was formed a few centuries ago, when a storm tide flooded the valley here. This statue is all that's left to be seen of the temple. The rest disappeared underwater when the lagoon formed. Perhaps some of the temple's still intact. I've got to check it out. At least the water's nice and warm. You know, it all started innocently enough. Flies. Nothing dangerous about flies. Then there was the cat. Then the sheep. The tiger. Now sharks. Bloody sharks. I'd better steer clear of him. At least the temple looks intact. I'd better head back to the shore before he spots me. Okay. I have to get rid of that shark if I'm going to reach the temple. Let's get up there and take a look. The cockpit's ruined, but there's a glove compartment here that looks relatively intact. This wreck's old. The jungle's begun eating into it. There's a cardboard box in relatively good condition in the glove compartment, but everything else is foobar.
Let's see what's in this box. Looks like an old radio. Oh, it fell off.
Wow, blind luck. The radio crank fits right into the bolts on the cover. Ah, there's an electrics cable under here. Might come in handy.
I'll connect one end of the cable to the contacts on the radio.
This should moisten the bloodstain. I've soaked the cloth in the blood. I'll knot the blood-stained rag onto the loose end of the cable. The radio can be charged electrically, and that charge could then be conducted down the cable. Sharks, I'm sure, are sensitive beings at heart. Even a small shock should be enough for him to turn tail. Of course, he's right on the lagoon bed. I'll need him to be right on top of the cable for it to work. Hopefully the smell of blood will be enough to attract his attention. It's working. The shark's surfaced, and he's circling the bait. I need to hurry before he pulls the whole thing under. Whap! 40 volts straight to the face. Fenton Paddock, top of the food chain. Time to get down there and check out this temple. I'll collect some mud. How am I supposed to get in? I have my strengths, but breathing underwater isn't one of them. It's a huge gate with a recess in the center. The recess isn't very big. I can reach all the way in. There seems to be some kind of mechanism back here. I severed the vine. It's dripping some kind of oily sap. I'll soak the reeds with some of the sap. The cardboard softened in the water. There, I've managed to cut away the plants with the sharp edge of the pole. There's a small carving here. It's carved into the stone. There's not much I can do with it. If it's good for my skin, it can't do any harm to an old rock. I'll oil it up. Perfect. This should make for a good mould. The damp cardboard will dry around the carving, and the plant oil should let me get it off again in one piece. The cardboard's dried in the heat. If I just remove it carefully, and yes, a beautiful cardboard mould. I fill the cardboard mould with clay. Let's hope it's hot enough to fire the clay. That should do it. The cardboard's burned away, and the clay looks pretty solid. Got it. It fits. We're in business. How has no water reached this part of the temple? It smells old and dank, but at least I can breathe. It's so well preserved. The painting seems to portray a scene Professor Hayes told me about. It's a group of herdsmen or hunters entering a large cave in the mountains. These are the people who discovered the entrance to Shambhala many thousands of years ago. There's a round stone jutting out of the wall here. I'll grab it. It's a magnificent city with some kind of glowing orb in the center. This must be Shambhala, the light at the center. That must be the source of these morphogenetic fields. It's the world's soul. Here's another stone. The painting shows burning houses and many, many dead people. They're fighting one another on a huge mountain of corpses. But they don't look like warriors. They're just townsfolk, murdering one another. Is this the fall of Shambhala? The inexplicable catastrophe that Professor Hayes mentioned, but he said it was a dragon, and Kim translated something similar back at the monastery. These people are killing each other. But why? There's a round stone here. It must have fallen out of the ceiling or the wall. And another stone. Another round stone. There's a plinth in the middle of the room. Okay, we've got 6 circular recesses arranged around a symbol. This must be where the artifact was stored all that time ago. I'd better take a closer look. I heard something move inside. Is it unlocked? There's a small slab in the middle of the plinth with a symbol on it. I can't move it. A round stone. Aha! The stones can be pushed down into the platform. That must be the artifact. The key to the gates of Shambhala. Finally. The second key. I've traveled 3 continents just to find this thing. I should be happy. Or at least relieved. But there's something bothering me. Something at the back of my mind. I'm finally holding in my hands the key to Shambhala. The key to rescuing Richard. And I've got this weird feeling about it all. Is that my conscience? Damn, I thought I lost the thing years ago. Maybe all this wasn't such a good idea. How many people have already died for this thing? And how many more will die if I open the gate to Shambhala? Beyond all the myths and the legends, there has to be something real at the end of it all. There is something behind that gate that shouldn't be messed with. I don't know. Maybe it's this place, or maybe I'm just tired, but I can't help but think back to Hong Kong Harbor. I made a split-second decision to save Richard, and it was the wrong one. I won't make the same mistake again. I don't have the luxury of special circumstances as an excuse this time, and this time, there's a lot more at stake. Kim said you can't weigh one life against another. Last time, my mistake cost 8 lives. This time, it could be thousands. I've got to accept the reality. I can't go back to Tibet. I have to go back to where it all began. I have to justify the most difficult decision of my entire life.
Lord Weston,
Yes?
Mr. Paddock is back.
What? What are you waiting for? Send him in, quickly. Fenton! You have no idea how relieved I am to see you.
Lord Weston,
Do you have any news of my son? Is he alive?
I'm afraid it's not that simple, Governor.
Is Richard dead? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No, he's still alive, I think.
Oh, thank God. Do you need more money? How can I help you? Just say the word, I'll do everything within my power.
Sir, I know where your son is. I even have the key to the gate that leads to his location. The problem is, I can't be answerable for opening that gate.
And what is that supposed to mean?
Richard is in a place in the Himalayas called Shambhala. For some reason, he fled there when his unit was attacked by Nazi troops. Maybe it was the only way he could prevent the Nazis from entering Shambhala. The point is, that place holds a secret so vital, it cannot be permitted to fall into the wrong hands at any cost. This is what I've come to realize. The second key could undo everything Richard has worked for. If I reopen the gate in order to follow him, I'd risk letting the Nazis into Shambhala. Lord Weston, we have to destroy the second portal key. I'm sorry, but the dangers it represents are simply too great.
What are you saying? You suggest that we leave my son, your friend, to his fate?
Lord Weston, you know what Richard means to me. You know what I've sacrificed for him. Believe me, if there were any other way, I would take it. I know it's hard to accept, but after everything I've seen and experienced, I just can't continue with this mission. I'm here today to ask for your understanding.
I cannot believe I'm hearing this. You sentenced my son to death, and you come here asking for absolution. I was wrong about you, Paddock. If you are unable to handle the situation, I shall have to find someone who is.
As I said, I'm very sorry, Lord Weston. But I've made my decision. I'm going to destroy the key.
I'm afraid that decision is no longer in your hands.
What is this? You're collaborating with the Nazis, Governor!
I had no choice, Fenton. Mr. Kleist claimed to know where Richard was. He said he could return him to me. I was skeptical, but a father will cling to even the slightest shred of hope. I never gave up hope that you would solve the situation, and that I could quickly end my collaboration with the Nazis. But now I realize that I backed the wrong horse.
Governor, this is a mistake.
I'm prepared to take that risk.
Herr Paddock, I wonder if you would be so kind as to accompany me to the airport. You have an appointment in Tibet that you absolutely cannot miss.
We meet again, Mr. Paddock.
It's a dubious pleasure, Countess. But I guess you've become rather accustomed to having me around.
Had I been given the choice, you would be lying in your wretched Hong Kong shack with a hole between your eyes, believe me. I console myself knowing this will be the last time your good fortune keeps you alive. I hardly imagine you are aware of the fact, but you must at least have felt the transfer of energy when you held the second artifact in your hands, yes? Paddock, you have connected with the key. You are now the only person capable of using it.
You mean you can't get into Shambhala without little old me?
Precisely.
And you think I'm going to help you?
But of course, there can be no doubt.
I hate to break it to you, love, but if I really am your last option, you're rather scraping the bottom of the barrel. Your expedition ends here.
Tut, tut, Mr. Paddock. You are always so hasty to judge before knowing all the facts. I am well aware of the lengths you would go to keep Shambhala from us. You would merrily abandon your greatest friend for that very reason. But I wonder, would you so capriciously condemn to death your pretty little accomplice?
Kim?
You would merrily abandon your greatest friend for that very reason. But I wonder, would you so capriciously condemn to death your pretty little accomplice? Oh, please don't look so dejected. At least you have one less life on your conscience. Well, if you cooperate, that is. Please don't make me describe to you what will happen to your girlfriend should you fail to comply. I think you have the imagination to make the right decision.
Kim, are you okay?
Just about.
Well?
Okay. Let her go and I'll do whatever you want.
I would dearly love to grant you this wish, but alas, it may be that your friend can make herself useful on the other side of the portal. No, she stays with us, but she gets to live a little longer.
Fine. What do you want me to do?
Place the second key in the recess on the pedestal. We will talk some more in Shambhala.
Fenton, wake up!
What?
Fenton!
What? Richard? Richard, is that you?
Of course it's me. Are you feeling okay?
Why do you look like a ghost?
Oh, charming. You came all this way just to tell me I've seen better days.
I don't understand. My head hurts.
Apparently your sense of humor is still en route. Well, what is there to say but... welcome to Shambhala. It was good to see Wang's niece again, but I would have preferred it if you'd left the Nazis on the other side.
Kim? Where is she?
She landed in the central cabin along with the Countess. I managed to convince the Guardians of this place to separate you and bring you here instead.
Guardians? You mean there are still people here?
No, not in present-day Shambhala. Just you, Kim, and a few dozen Nazis.
So, what the hell are you talking about then? And what happened to you? Why are you all... flaky?
Ah, well, that's the story, isn't it? When I used the original key back in the monastery, it transported me to Shambhala. But the Shambhala of the past. It seems when the key was constructed thousands of years ago, the monks who stayed in the Kembalan Valley to guard it planned to use it to return here someday. I don't begin to understand how any of this works, but believe me when I say that this place holds extraordinary power.
So I've read. Something about morphogenetic fields.
Providing it a name implies an explanation for something inexplicable, but yes, if you like, morphogenetic fields. The High Priests described Shambhala as the heart of the world, but in truth, it's more like the soul. If you want to see it in a scientific light, I suppose you could say that the energy of this place is what constitutes the life force of every living creature throughout time. Just as every single person has a soul that makes him the person that he is, every species has a soul that makes the species what it is. And the sum of all that resides here. The world soul.
Would you be shocked if I said this was all a little over my head?
I've been here for days and I still don't understand it. I don't believe we'll ever understand this place completely. Just take it as fact. There is an energy here, an imperceptible energy that bonds us all.
How imperceptible exactly?
Well, we are all linked to one another subconsciously. But it's true that certain people are able to detect the fields with more precision than others. We call them mediums or oracles. But the energy fields explain a lot more than that. Think about natural instincts, or phenomena such as mass panic. They're all a result of the ebb and flow of those subconscious links.
Well, it all sounds very grand, but what does it actually mean on a practical level? Are we in danger?
Fenton, imagine the heart of Shambhala as a gigantic archive. A pool of everything people have ever researched, discovered, or developed.
So, that's a yes then.
It is. The entire world converges right here.
And the Countess knows that.
But it's not just that. The center transcends time and space. He who controls it controls the sum of all human knowledge, past, present,
and future. They could conquer the world.
No, that's not the threat. The power of this place is too much for any person to control. Mankind doesn't have the maturity to handle this gift. Even the priests of primeval times failed.
So, this field of energy ended up making the residents of Shambhala kill each other in a civil war?
Correct.
How?
Imagine understanding everything, instantly. The spirit of a person would be subjected to extraordinary strain. They simply couldn't cope. Besides, there are darker forces at work. This archive is not limited to discoveries and inventions. It represents the entirety of the human condition. Jealousy, envy, hate, these define the human species just as much as learning or understanding, and have a corresponding influence here in Shambhala. But, as I said before, it is not something we can easily understand.
Okay, fine. So we just wait for the Countess to open the center. I'll dash in, grab Kim, then we sit back and watch while they all kill each other.
You're absolutely right.
But
in my time, Fenton, the surviving priests are preparing to leave Shambhala for good. In order to protect the heart from misuse, they are performing a ceremony that will set up a force field around it. This field will allow only the bearer of a certain amulet to pass through. After the ceremony, the amulet will be divided into 3 pieces and hidden in the temples of 3 priest castes who once ruled here.
hey, even better. The Nazis won't get past square one.
No, they've begun to plant explosives. The field is maintained in your time by a series of plinths. It would take a great deal of power, but they may be able to destroy them. We have to stop them, Fenton. They may not be able to wield the power of Shambhala, but if the energy of this place is disrupted in any way, it could have catastrophic effects for every living creature on the planet. We must act quickly.
We?
I thought you were stuck in the past.
You're right. But you won't find the 3 amulet pieces without my help. If I understand it correctly, our times are now synchronized. We can communicate, but we cannot cross the boundary. In my time, the priests are only just now performing the ceremony to invoke the force field. So the amulet has not yet been hidden, and I have no way to know where it will be placed. But that doesn't mean to say I can't help you look for it.
And what am I supposed to do with the thing when I find it?
You will have to use the power of the Source to drive off the Nazis.
As in the source that sends anyone who goes anywhere near it doolally? That source? Is there a plan B?
Don't worry. Once you find the dragon amulet, I will help you control it.
Okay, let's do it.
I couldn't agree more. The future of the world is in our hands.
Looks like I'm on my own again. I'm still not sure I've got a handle on all this. 10,000 years ago, the residents of Shambhala all kill each other, save for a few priests who escape the civil war. Shortly after that, Richard crash lands here and convinces those priests to invoke a force field around the center to protect it. Now the Countess, along with her troops, and Kim, are in the center of Shambhala, ready to blow the bloody thing up. And, surprise, surprise, I'm the only one that can stop them. I need 3 pieces of some amulet to harness the power of the Source and somehow make everything okay again. That's Richard's plan, in any case. I'll probably just wander around breaking things until something interesting happens.
Looks like some kind of altar, but who knows? The water dripping from the ceiling is beginning to wear it away in the center. I don't think I can move it. An overturned offerings bowl. Now just rotting meat and fruit. I suppose I ought to check through it, just in case. Just about the only thing here even remotely sanitary is this nut. These heads were cut directly out of the rock. Their eyes and mouths are closed. I don't see anything much to do with them, other than avoid their gaze. These discs are in the very center of this temple. These discs are in the very center of this temple. There's a torch hanging in the holder. A stone slab. should be able to lift this. There's a complex system of gears here that looks to be connected to those stone heads. There are 2 metal gears and 1 wooden one. I wonder if I can take the gears out. The wooden one comes away easily enough, but the others are firmly installed.
The drive's missing a gear. If in doubt, break things. Brute force won't move these things. Different sized discs with odd markings carved onto them. The pedestal in the middle has similar symbols. It's seen better days. The dripping water's created an indent over time. It's too heavy to move.
A mound of stones and earth. The soil's rather compacted. I can't just pull it away with my fingernails. A small stream winding its way through the cave. These posts support a chain that's used as a railing for crossing the bridge. This pole's firmly rooted to the spot. It's loose. I can most likely pull it out. I'll take the chain as well. These rocks seem to have broken off from the ceiling quite recently. They're lying loose. One kick ought to do it. A small stream winding its way through the cave. It's too sturdy to break off with bare hands. Strictly speaking, one isn't supposed to interfere with these things. Something is telling me to do otherwise. I think I'll just break them off and hope no one notices. Definitely use this to loosen the soil. Saving the world is no excuse not to get one's hands dirty and try to shift some of this soil. The soil is loose. I can pull it away rather easily, though not without dirtying myself a little. Still, it's only mud. There was a stone coffin hidden under the mound of dirt. There's a brightly painted lock in front. The paint must be how they protect the metal from rust. There's a layer of protective paint on the lock that's chipping away in places, but the lock itself is strong. It won't budge. This is the central hub of Shambhala. It's hard to fathom, but these priests are conducting a ceremony that will construct a force field around the world's soul that will still be in place by the time Fenton arrives in around 10,000 years. When I first arrived here, I told them about the Nazi attack on the monastery, and they decided this was the best course of action. Perhaps the dying monk gave me that key because he knew it would send me into the past. The priests needed to know the threat so they could prepare for an emergency like this. It's a cube-shaped stone. That force field protects the source of the morphogenetic fields, the center of all knowledge, from being accessed by those who might misuse it. Only with the dragon amulet can Shambhala's power be harnessed. So, where to? I'm currently in the northern cave, and the two other temples are in the southwest and the southeast. It must be 200 degrees in here. I'll attach the torch to the chain. Yes, that works. That's a statue of the supreme deity of fire. The people who built this place attempted to appease the gods with sacrifices. As this bowl represents life, damp Earth isn't a million miles from the goal. I'm not sure we're quite there yet, though. The symbol underneath this bowl represents death. I'm not sure how a nut relates to that. plant the nut in the earth. Perhaps this will be a sufficient sacrifice for life. This is the Temple of Light. An icicle. No idea what these are for. I'll leave the icicle here. I should be able to melt the icicle, then the tub will be full of water. I'll immerse the gear in the water. Break open the lock, but perhaps I can drain off some of the paint. Place the stone directly under the dripping water.
Looks like this coffin once had an iron lock on it. It's completely rusted through now. Maybe I can get it open. Got it. The coffin's open. I really hope grave robbing will be the pinnacle of my less than moral activities. I hate to think how I'd go about besting it. The body's rotted to the bone. I have the most unsettling desire to take one with me. A load of pebbles from the old riverbed. I'll take some with me. Looks like the Countess and her men have set up camp in the center. There's Kim.
Well, any news?
No, Countess. We could not discover a way out of the caves. But we haven't yet examined every corner.
And Paddock?
No trace.
Okay, forget it. Perhaps the idiot fell over the edge when we arrived here. No matter, we have other concerns to tend to. Prepare the explosives. I'm quite sure a small detonation will be enough to disrupt the force field.
Jawohl, Countess.
I need to shift these ropes, but the Countess is keeping a close eye on me. She's calm, precise, organized. I've had no chance to escape. Maps, documents, and a glass bottle. I could definitely reach the table with my leg and give it a kick, but the Countess would notice it immediately.
I need to find the 3 parts of the dragon amulet. Fast. I'll grab the crystals. According to Richard, there are 2 more temples besides this one in the north. There should be a piece of the dragon amulet in each one. There's one in the southeast and one in the southwest. This place is freezing. Lucky I've gotten pretty accustomed to extreme conditions over the last week. I've got to crack on and find the amulet piece. There's a gear frozen into the ice here. It's frozen solid. I can't get a grip to pull it out. Fits perfectly. This crystal looks like a good fit. Impressive. The light from this area of the temple is concentrated and redirected. Let's fit this crystal in here. Let's see what happens. Ah, fantastic. The light's melting the ice. It's the tail piece of the amulet. frozen solid. I can't get a grip to pull it out. And I was complaining about the heat in the desert. This is one of the 3 temples that hold the pieces of the dragon amulet. There don't seem to be that many places it could be hiding. But then, I am a master of underestimating tasks. Looks a bit like flaming tongues. Maybe it represents fire. There's a plant growing here.
I'm not entirely sure why I'm doing this. Now I know how Fenton must feel all the time, regardless. I'm sure this isn't just a spontaneous urge.
Just like an ice lolly. One good heft on the chain and... got it. Let's see if we can't thaw this thing out. I'd better not leave it down there too long. At 1,000 degrees, the line between thawing and incinerating is pretty fine. It worked. The gear's been preserved in perfect condition. Let's see what happens when I place the bone in this bowl. The bone didn't look that heavy. Maybe I actually did something right.
Okay, let's see if I can rig this thing up.
That should work. The chain's long enough, and the stone should hold the lava without melting. There it is, a cup full of lava. That's it. The statue's moving. Looks like we're in business. A piece of the amulet. It's a piece of the dragon amulet. Almost like it was meant to be. Aha! Feeding stones to these guys makes the discs on the floor move. These heads are carved in one piece, right out of the rock. Even after all these years, they're in perfect condition. They must have had some special significance. Old deities, perhaps? Ah, something opened up. The headpiece of the dragon amulet. The two pieces fit together perfectly.
Hey, look, a dragon.
This should be fun. Or terrifying. Hopefully both. Well, that was an anticlimax. What am I doing wrong?
I'm impressed.
Richard, I put the amulet back together. Is something supposed to be happening?
The amulet allows its bearer to breach the force field and to access the heart of Shambhala. Use Use your imagination, Fenton. Think about how the morphogenetic fields work. They are a part of everyone here.
I liked you more when you didn't talk in riddles.
If you control this energy, you control everything it is a part of. Let your thoughts, your feelings take control. Turn your thoughts into action.
But...
Richard?
Great. Okay. Thoughts into action, thoughts into action. Nothing's happening. Christ. Why does this remind me of Professor Hayes' dragon story?
I do like dragons.
Lieutenant, control your men. This is all an elaborate illusion. They are in no danger but from themselves.
This is my chance. I've got to get free before they get organized. A bottle has fallen off the table and is broken. That's it. I've pulled some of the glass towards me.
Let's do this thing. Kim's down there. I've already put her in too much danger. Vision with the amulet. I think the odds are on my side now. I need to focus the amulet on where I want the dragon to attack. I think the odds are on my side now.
I've got to get free. I need to cut myself free. Quickly.
There are still 2 Nazi units out there.
Don't move! It is all just a figment of the imagination! Lieutenant, we end this party trick now. Follow me. We will detonate the explosives. Once we control the heart of Shambhala, we will put an end to this spectacle.
Oh, Countess.
Ah, the girl arises. Given up waiting for your boyfriend to save you?
He's not my boyfriend.
Regardless, you must realize one thing. We have arrived in Shambhala. Your usefulness no longer protects you. It is time for you to die.
I'm the one you need to worry about.
Always with the witticisms, you people. Can't you take something seriously just once?
But it makes everything so much more fun, don't you think? Surprise, Countess?
Ha! A lucky hit, that's all.
Kim, are you okay?
I'm alive, I think.
What's with the kung fu? I didn't know you kick ass. Why didn't you pull that out sooner?
There's a lot about me that you don't know.
So I'm beginning to realize. Maybe that's something we can work on.
Huh, you'd like that, wouldn't you, Paddock?
Kim, you know I would.
Richard?
I don't mean to break up the moment, but it's time for me to say goodbye.
What do you mean?
I've made my decision. I'm going to stay here, in the past.
But why?
I've seen a great many things here that I never would have believed. I think there's a reason I wound up in Shambhala. Whatever you want to call it, there's a great power that connects every living being throughout time and space. I don't begin to understand it, but I do know it wants me to help protect it. Humanity is nowhere near ready for a miracle like this. I know that when you return to your time, you will do everything you can to keep this place a secret. Promise me.
Done.
Thank you, Fenton. And thank you for coming after me. I know how much you've been through. I'll never forget it.
You've really thought this through?
Yes, I have. One day you'll understand.
I think understanding is more your bag, but I'll do my best to get my head around it. I'll make sure the governor knows you're safe.
Thank you. I have to go now.
I'm no good at soppy. You know that.
Just look after yourselves, okay?
Take care, Richard.
What on earth just happened? Where did Richard go?
I'm not entirely sure. But I'll try to explain on the way home.
So that's it then? World saved, catastrophe averted? You're not even a little bit interested to understand the great secrets of the universe?
Nah, overrated. I'm more worried about how the hell we get back home.
So you've been halfway around the world just to get here, and you're going home empty-handed?
Am I?
You think you're pretty cool, don't you, Fenton Paddock?
You're saying you don't?
make sure to let me know our love's not just for show. Pardon me, I need your love, your sunshine, our destiny last for eternity. Follow me, please never let me go. Don't turn my hand into stone. Finally follow me home. How we danced in the night under blossoming skies. When we dance, I see starlight reflecting your eyes. In your arms, I feel tenderly touched all the time. And on your lips, I am reading the words you are mine. Follow me into my arms and my heart, and you see that you're the one I need. Please come with me. I need someone to heal, someone to make me feel. Why don't you follow me? Come follow me. Just